motion and second. Discussion? Hearing none, I will call the roll. Dunlap? Yes. Lanza? Yes. Shalala? Malloy?
Yes.
Motion passes. Jill Dunlap is Secretary Pro Tem. Please rise to the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Secretary call the meeting roll. Barry, Casper, Shalala. Malloy?
Here.
Dunlap here. Lloyd? None here. 3.1, Superintendent's report.
Yes, so this was going to be a late addition to the report, but it was too good to hold. Received notification today that our financial report for fiscal year 22 qualified us for the Certificate of Achievement and Excellence in Financial Reporting, which is the highest form of recognition in government accounting and financial reporting. And its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by the government unit and its management. So hats off to Jay Money and his team for another annual awarding of this prestigious award. Congratulations. Just an announcement that the September regular board meeting will be held at Cruz Education Center at 6 p.m. on September 12th. Cruz PTA has invited the board to a popsicle social before the board meeting. So we'll see everybody on September 12th at Cruz for the regular September board meeting. Vern, you want to talk about summer technology work?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Davis. Been really very productive and a busy summer for us. For the most part, it's kind of twofold, just in preparing student iPads for the new school year, and then also every classroom has a classroom set of Chromebooks, so we get those ready. Basically, with the iPads, that means touching every single iPad for over 2,000 students. And in doing so, basically, we're wiping the old data off. We're re-enrolling it for that same student, and then adding the apps for the new school year. So as kids move up a grade, a lot of times the apps change for what they need for that. And so we're just getting everything ready in that respect for them. And then we also do with the Chromebooks. Again, we wipe them, we update the OS on them, and get them all clean and fresh for a new school year for the teachers. As part of that too, we're also any new purchasing, we're implementing those. We're pulling out any that we want to then consider as surpluses in the future. And so that's the big part there. For staff equipment, the big, it's mainly collecting from staff who are leaving and then repurposing and getting ready for new staff that are coming in. Tomorrow's a new teacher induction day, so the afternoon is spent with receiving their new technology, and they're excited about that. But administration is part of our team too, so very busy with students transferring out, students transferring in. That also impacts our, the tech team is getting iPads ready for those new students that are transferring in. Plus we got a whole new crop of kindergartners coming in, along with 8th grade going out. So we kind of deal with all those aspects. We did have 2 projects this summer that are being handled by third-party vendors. We're in the midst of the second phase of our wireless upgrade, and so I spread that out for 3 years just to help spread out the cost of it. Because we're pulling new wiring, which has an expense to it, and then we're also replacing all the access points. And so doing that in 3 phases. Last summer we did Central in phase 1, and then this summer we're doing here in Cruz, and so that's started. The wiring's has been pulled, and then next summer we'll do phase 3, which will be Fulton Memorial and the Ad Center. COVID's had quite an impact on that project, both even last summer, not as bad, but this summer, if you remember in the springtime, China locked down and shut down. And so all the chip manufacturers coming out there along with all the Cisco equipment that comes from China. So very late June, I was told as far as shipment goes that it could be up to a year later in receiving it. So we're ready for it when it comes. Hopefully it'll come sooner. But in light of that, I went ahead and put some, started getting some quotes for next time. I want to go ahead and order it now, so it's here and not get hit twice with that kind of a delay.
Also, I mentioned early in the summer that we are replacing our phone system, and the infrastructure's getting put in place for that. Again, that's being impacted by COVID, so there's some delays there. But with both these projects, I made sure that they do not in any way impact our day-to-day operations. And so when we do get them put in place, we'll have them both running side by side. Turn one off, turn one on, and then be able to run, in that kind of a fashion. So,
Thanks, Vern. Matt's got some construction update stuff and also just some information about summer cleaning and recognition and the sort. Take it away, Matt.
Thanks. So this summer, we had 2 projects by outside vendors, outside contractors. The first was the CMS HVAC project. We learned pretty early on that the chiller was delayed. So we're referring to Phase 1 and Phase 2. Phase 1 consisted of the removal of 6 rooftop units, replacement of those, and integrating our current controls into the system. They're working wonderfully. The project was really exciting and very happy with how it went along. It was great to work with Train, so we look forward to Phase 2, which we're planning now. We hope to do it the last weekend of October. We also had the gym flooring projects completed at Fierk and Cruz. That's also exciting. During the planning, we had both gym teachers from each school very involved. I know very little about their day-to-day stuff and all the different markings. So each one's a little bit different, but each one has the school's logo right in the center. It's really exciting. Can't wait for you all to see it. Also at Fierk, we added what Cruz already had, which was in-ground volleyball poles. So that's going to be great for the future. Another project that we handled in-house, ComEd is very aggressive in giving rebates on LED and other energy-saving projects. So we work with the company that we work with at Cruz and Fierk 3 years ago, COVID, 3 years ago when we redid all the interior lighting. So the project we decided to do was all what we call high bay lighting in all of our gyms and in the cafetorium at CMS. We bought 126 fixtures, and our end cost after our rebates is going to be about $200. The project was done by our maintenance team, specifically Jeff Floyd. I commend him. He took the project on himself. So they're all installed. They're going to be a great energy efficient. They'll pay for them, well, $200. They've probably already paid for themselves in energy reduction. But the other great part of it is when the lights go out and they have to bring the lift over and they have to, we're eliminating more of a dangerous job when guys are up on a lift. So that's another really good benefit. Summer cleaning kicked off the day after the kids got out of school, and the custodians have really worked hard, and those who've joined us, some of the summer kids and some other substitute custodians, they worked really hard to get the schools completed on time. We set a goal of this Wednesday, and we're going to be right there. We had a little delay because of the flooring project. Although it was on time, it pushed right till the end. So they're finishing waxing this week, and we'll be welcoming staff into Fierk. It's the last school. I just want to commend the custodial staff because they did a great job and worked very hard this summer. And we're also, each year we have a recognition breakfast for the custodial crew, so that's happening on Wednesday at FIRC at 8 a.m. The board is welcome. Administrators will also be attending to the breakfast and recognizing their hard work. Thanks, Matt.
Teacher Induction Week, Wendy.
All right. Well, this week and next week, we're really excited. We're going to be meeting and welcoming our new teachers at our mentor and induction. We kick it off tomorrow with Dr. Stave. We'll have a few opening words. Our administrative team will be there to introduce themselves and have a really nice breakfast to get the day started. The participants over the next week will spend a lot of time in orientation and professional development. The goal of those days is to really provide them time to collaborate, get to know each other, get to know their mentors, and really just learn about the district. So we're excited for Mentor Induction Week coming up. We also give them some time to acclimate to their buildings, where we did like a little get to know your school building checklist with their mentors and their principals, so they can come in and know where the copy machine is and where the phones are. I know that sounds trivial, but those are very important things when you're coming into a new environment. So we spend a little time throughout the week giving them time to really get to know their building and their resources. We've put together a choice board of professional development as well, that are quick trainings that they can do with their mentor to get to know our science, our social studies, our music, art, learning platforms, all those things that are just kind of quick tutorials. What is this resource? Where can I find it? And how can I use it very, very quick for them? So we're excited about that as well. Our mentor and induction extends all year, particularly our mentor program for our first and second year teachers, where we provide them some additional professional development, time to collaborate, and most importantly, just time to support them. We do little quick pulses of your wellness check. How are you doing? How can we support you? In our first year, we really focus on our district teacher evaluation framework, which really helps them to understand tools and instructional strategies that help classroom engagement and improving and elevating their own practices. Our second year teacher program, they meet once a month as well, and they work on different professional development, really focused on instructional practices. And this year we're kind of excited because we're going to add a little component to that that says, as you're doing your learning and collaborating, we're going to come in if you desire and model that for you in our classroom and support them and debrief with them and support the professional growth. So really at the heart of these meetings, though, we always do a quick check for their wellness, because that first year is always trying and challenging, and we want to make sure they're successful and we can meet them where their needs are. So we spend a little time having a lot of articulation about them, where your needs are. So that is our mentor and induction program. And then we also, I can't believe it, school's around the corner, it's opening up. We are ready for opening day. Our first opening day will really focus on honoring and celebrating our new staff on August 22nd. And then we'll spend a lot of time with some engaging activities throughout those 3 days. We're going to spend some time reviewing curriculum, spend some time reviewing some of our SEL, our social emotional programming. There's a lot more details I could add, but I put those on your agendas. It's in your board doc if you'd like to learn a little more of what that day looks like. So, and that's it.
Thanks, Wendy, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So it's time for us to, we're required to have a return to school. The state's calling it a return to school plan. It's the next generation of our COVID-19 plan. You have a copy of the big plan in board docs, and then you should also have a list of bullets in front of you, and I'm going to ask Kelly to just real quickly take you through those.
All right, you're going to notice I have to put my glasses on that look like Dr. Staywick's because he gave them to me, because he knows I can't read. So, yes, as Dr. Staywick had stated, this is a required COVID response plan, and the good thing is over the last 3 years that we've required it, it's become shorter and shorter. So that is good news for us. But that isn't in draft form, because what we want is to make sure that the board looks at it, not necessarily approves it, but allows us, the feedback that you would like, so that it is, demonstrates what the stakeholders wish it to say in the response plan. So in the spirit of communication, I just want to highlight some of the main points of the COVID response plan. And again, the goal is for this response plan to be live by early next week, because we are sending a mailing out to all of our families from the district next week. And although there is a one-page letter that's coming from our health department, or from Marion, from our school nurse consultant, we want to make sure that the whole plan is ready and available live for parents that want to view the whole plan. So some of the highlights: wearing of masks will remain optional. In times of persistent high transmission, we are going to highly encourage those to wear masks. But again, it is optional for people. Staff will be encouraged to review and reinforce proper hand hygiene. Staff and students with COVID-like symptoms should stay home and are advised to arrange for a lab-based COVID test or obtain a note from their healthcare provider with an alternate diagnosis. Staff and students with 2 or more symptoms of COVID-19 illness, not attributable to another diagnosis or allergies, should provide a note from their healthcare provider if it's something else. If it is COVID-related, they can return after 5 days or after their symptoms improve. So that is important for staff and students with symptoms. Individuals with positive COVID tests are to stay home for 5 calendar days until all symptoms are improved or resolving, and they are encouraged on day 6, if they are returning, to wear a mask. Although we can't require it, we're strongly encouraging it through day 10 if they were home with a COVID diagnosis. When a COVID positive case is identified or reported in a classroom or cohort, notifications will be sent to families. There's going to be a short version if there's kind of a shorter notification of a COVID case, similar to when we have strep throat or other communicable diseases that go out stating there's been a case of COVID reported in your child's classroom. Just be on the lookout. If there are multiple cases, there's going to be a little bit of a longer letter that states that there's been multiple cases. We really want you to keep an eye on this. One of the other bullets is that we are no longer doing contact tracing in the schools. You will see, which is why we feel it's important to still notify families that there are, numerous cases in your class. Please be on the lookout. We will report if we have an outbreak situation, which are 3 or more cases. Those will be reported to the Cook County Department of Public Health, and we will follow their guidance. So if they require us to offer testing, then we will follow through and we will offer testing. We aren't required to make people take a test, but we would offer it. So we're just going to kind of follow their guidance if it comes to an outbreak situation. And then again, we're going to communicate with families and with the building when that becomes, if we are to encounter an outbreak situation, very similar to what we did last spring. I think those practices kind of changed in February. The number of in-district positive cases in each building will continue to be reported in the COVID corner on the website weekly. Where schools are no longer required to have a quarantine room, the air purifiers that were formerly purchased for those rooms will just be added to the health office. And last but not least, when students and staff are in the health office, those are considered health offices, which means we are required to wear masks in the health office. So we will have some disposable masks available for staff and students as they're entering. So that's the plan in summary. Again, we just encourage you to provide feedback to us because we would like to make this live for families to view on early next week.
I'll drop the board a reminder somehow via email or text towards the end of the week, just to give you a chance if you came across anything in the full plan that didn't look right or that you disagreed with or you thought needed more discussion. So you won't have to remember to reach out to me. I'll reach out to you. So thanks, Kelly. You've been tracking open positions because it's a really unique time in the workforce in most industries in America, and education is no exception. So a lot has changed since our committee of the whole meeting. We have roughly the same number of openings that we did then, although we had a great deal of success filling the ones that I told you about at committee of the whole, but there are still some new ones since then. It's a employees market right now, so folks are looking for jobs closer to home. They're looking for promotions, all good things for employees. It's difficult more difficult of a season for employers. So Shar has been processing onboarding as quickly as possible, and she's a true professional at that. So I just want to run down what positions we currently have open, so the board's up to date on that. There's 2 teacher positions, 4 paraprofessional positions, and 1 secretary position open at Central. Fierick, it needs an LBS, an interventionist, and a paraprofessional. Fulton needs 3 paraprofessionals. Cruz needs an LBS for multi-needs and 1 kindergarten teacher. Memorial needs a para and a building substitute, and we need 1 more custodian in the district. So Matt has done a really nice job filling 2 of his 3 custodial positions since the last meeting, and he had to fill 4 altogether, so he's doing a great job. Having enough LBS is a serious concern, as is having enough paraprofessionals to service our kids. So Kelly is going to start, on top of the search effort that we've got going on, we're going to start considering what types of services can be provided by agency, if need be, because we need to be compliant with students' IEPs and make sure that students are served. So principals have a beat on a good number of candidates for some of the other teacher positions, but that's the latest as of about 2 p.m. today, and I'll make sure that I keep the board up to date on how we're looking. This is the first time, typically we're deep at all positions by now, and it really is a sign of the times. We're still getting applicants. Some of our neighbors are asking for our leftovers when we select, because some districts aren't getting applicants for a number of their positions. So 146 is still an attractive place to be. We just don't have, the industry just doesn't have the unemployed numbers that it has in years past, so. A number of condolences, unfortunately, this month. Teresa Bullington lost her mother, Geraldine, recently. Teresa's a first grade teacher at Fierick. Ryan Atkin passed away in July. Ryan used to be part of our District 146 tech team. Linda Lamort's husband, Michael, passed away, so sad, in July. Linda's a retired paraprofessional, was with the district for a good long time, and her daughter worked at Cruz as well. Michael Jacobs, the father of Eric Jacobs and father-in-law to Mary Jacobs, passed away on August 5th. Visitation and service will be held on August 13th in Lansing. Eric's a teacher at Central, and Mary's a teacher at Memorial. A dear 146 family. So we extend our condolences to theirs and the other families that I mentioned. And that's all I got for the Super's report.
Thank you. 4.1, union reports.
Hey, happy to say welcome back. Summer goes fast. We're August already. Driving by. Just a couple things that a couple people already mentioned about the new hire orientation beginning. We're excited about that, to welcome new teachers to the union tomorrow. As Vern alluded, the boot camp, tech boot camp is something that a lot of people take advantage of and brush up their skills and learn some new things. So that's going on this summer. We've got people, as Wendy knows, working on the ELA committee this week, trying to get some of that kind of stuff together before we get back in full swing. And most of the buildings are also having some social emotional work done. They're putting in new programs, and some committees are kind of together at the building level. I know Memorial's got some meetings this week and next as well. So kind of ramping up kind of a thing. We're just eager to be back. It seems like once you get tired of the hot weather, everyone's kind of ready to get into the school year. I'm looking over the class list and trying to memorize all the names and hope they don't change, between now and 2 weeks from now, because it comes fast. So we're excited to be back.
Eileen, before you sit down, I just want to tell the board, Eileen is doing a really great job transitioning to the role of president of the union. Eileen and I go way back, because she's been in the district for a long time, but we've been getting to know each other in this role. This summer, she's had a couple chances to advocate for union members, and I feel like she's done that with great command of the position and great confidence, and I just really I'm enjoying the partnership, and I appreciate what you're bringing.
As well. It's very nice. It's a different context, but seeing things a little bit different perspective, but it's nice to be part of it all.
Thanks, Eileen.
Thanks.
Hi, Karen.
Hi. We are really excited to be coming back to all the paras and, well, the secretaries have been working as a 12 months. So glad to say that we actually have an actual full board, including our building reps.
Yay.
So, very excited. I was pushing myself. So I'm the president, Melissa is going to be the vice president, Melissa Knaus. Julie Miner is treasurer, Kelly Stock is our secretary. At Central for the building reps, we have Brenda McAdary. Fulton, we have Sherry Barrett. Fierk, we have Lisa Albano. Memorial is Nikki Cardella, and Cruz is Darlene Thompson. I'm glad to see that Brenda and Sherry stepped up. They've been careless for a long time. Yeah, we're really excited about coming back. We have training with Kelly on August 17th and 18th. So we're looking forward to just getting it and taking care of it there.
Great to see you, Karen.
Thank you. Additional union reports? No. Seeing none, 5.1, citizens may address the board at this time. Do we have any citizens that wish to address the board? Okay. Seeing none.
Hold on, Darcy.
Oh, do we? Yeah, absolutely. Please come to the roster and state your name.
Hi, my name is Bernadette. I have a kid in a cruise, and my question is, I didn't hear, did you adopt sexual addiction education from kindergarten?
This is a time for public comment. It is not time for the public to question the board. If you have questions about curriculum and/or instruction, it's best to talk to Dr. Stawick.
I sent an email to Mr. Stawick and never got a response from him.
Okay. Well, he'll connect with you and check, but at this point, it is not.
That was my question.
Okay.
That's why I came here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
She gets that, so she has the right email address.
Moving on, can I have a motion for the consent agenda, please?
I move to approve the consent agenda. 6.1, approval of minutes. 6.2, approval of closed session minutes. 6.3, approval of destruction of closed session tapes. 6.4, approval of financial items. 6.5, approval of personnel items.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Secretary, call the roll.
Malloy,
Yes?
Shalata,
Yes.
Dunlap, yes, Menza.
Yes. 6.6, approval of sub-rates minimum wage increase.
As this was an info item at the June meeting, Jay Money and Shar made recommendations to update some of our sub-rates, as well as our support staff, to keep in line with the increasing minimum wage. And there have been no changes to the recommendations since the info item in June. We did receive a question or two from board members, and answers to those questions were sent to the whole board. That was just the day or two after that June meeting. So no changes, and we really look forward to, hopefully this will make a big difference in the availability of subs, but most importantly, that see to it that our dedicated subs are appropriately compensated.
Is there a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the recommendation for substitute and non-union part-time support staff as presented.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? Secretary, call the roll.
Malloy,
Yes.
Shalata,
Yes.
Dunlap, yes, Menza.
Yes. 6.7, approval of resolution approving TRS SSP employer participation agreement.
Yes, this is the supplement savings plan for TRS that Jay Money discussed with you at the committee of the whole meeting this month, last week. This is a new plan from TRS. It's required of school districts. They've been working hard to make it, I guess, approvable for school districts. And Jay Money and the associations that he consults with and our business attorney have all found a way to stomach it now and feel like it's, that we're ready to pass it. And you'll see in board docs, the resolution itself, a couple of the exhibits, and then Jeff Charleston's recommendation that you approve that resolution tonight.
Okay, is there a motion?
I move the Board of Education approve the resolution approving the TRS Supplement Savings Participation Agreement as presented.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? Secretary, call the roll.
Malloy.
Yes.
Yes.
Dunlap, yes. Nenza.
Yes. 6.8, approval of policy changes, second read.
Yes, this is the second read of a number of policy changes that are recommended by press. The first read we did at the regular June meeting. You'll see the updated policies listed in board docs from 2.23 through 7.285. Most of those are unchanged as they were, it was just their turn for the annual 5-year review. There are a few of them that have some of the footnotes updated, and there are a couple that have a word or two changed, but really no substantive changes. But I do want to draw your attentions to your attention to 5.310, which is the last one listed. We talked a little bit at the June meeting about comp time and making sure that it's accounted for accurately, both at the earning end and the spending end. This is another enhancement that Shar is bringing to the HR office. She is a true human resources professional, and putting systems in place and controls in place are just part of her everyday demeanor. So this is going to be a big help to not only employees who choose comp time instead of overtime, but also to the bosses, to the principals and the directors who, want to take their employees' word for it, but also wants to make sure that we're being good stewards of taxpayer dollars. So we've got some policy language under this adoption that will put that in place for the district for years to come.
Is there a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the revised policies as presented.
Is there a second?
Second?
Discussion. Hearing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Malloy.
Yes.
Shalata.
Yes.
Dunlap, yes. Nenza.
Yes. 7.1, tentative budget for fiscal year '23 presentation.
All right, so I have a presentation if you want to move out.
Room if you want to scooch back. Won't make you strain your neck.
All right, so this is the preliminary budget. By law, we're required to present a preliminary budget, have it on display for 30 days, available for public inspection, and then a final budget will be presented at the September board meeting. In my world, the budget process kind of is year-round, so we're here in August, plus I get to use my fancy little pointer. First, though, I want to start with a review of how we did for the year that just ended. And these are unaudited numbers, that's why it says preliminary. But this first slide here is the revenue side. And as you can see, if you go across, the budget was here, and we were over budget, which is a good thing. We received more than budgeted in every category, local, state, and federal. Usually I try to budget conservatively so that if we're off, it's positive. This year it seemed to be more positive than usual, so I'll go through why that happened. But every single category was over the budget. So here are the main reasons, and I put a little asterisk by some of the things that are repeatable that will occur every year. Some of the things will not. The first one there, the biggest number on the page, is the property tax relief grant. If you recall, this happened after the budget was approved, where the state will give us $1 million, which will become a permanent increase to our evidence-based funding, and in exchange, we have to abate property taxes of $1.7 million for the next 2 years. So this wasn't in the budget, so we were over budget in a good way by $1 million on the state side. Also, this past year, all the meals were served free And so that was a federal reimbursement. Normally, that's a state reimbursement. So and it was hard to know at the time how much to budget for that. And we ended up getting 500,000 more than we thought we were. That one is not repeatable because we're going back to the old way. So it was just a one-time infusion of extra money. The next one is corporate personal property replacement tax. It's a fund that comes from the state. It's based on taxes to businesses that they then pass along to school districts. And generally, most years we get 200,000 to 300,000. For some reason, this year we got 750,000, significantly more than budgeted. Most districts in the state saw a similar increase, and the state says it was a one-time thing, and they don't really have a good explanation for it. So I'm calling that one not repeatable also, but it was extra money that we got this year. Interest revenue was higher this year. Last year, at the time the budget was approved, interest rates were essentially zero, or 0.1%, and as you know, everything has gone way up this year, so we got more money. I put a double asterisk because I'm calling that one kind of repeatable. It's very hard to predict what interest rates are going to do. I suspect they'll be high for a while, but so the interest budget is going to go up, but it's variable from year to year. Property tax, we got a little bit more than we budgeted. That's normal in a given year. We did have a building rental. The co-op rented our building for summer school last summer, which the funds came in this fiscal year. That was a one-time thing. I didn't have it in the budget. And then transportation reimbursement came in a little higher. Those are, 100,000 is not small, but in the grand scheme of 40 million. So all of those things add up to about $2.6 million, which is the difference in what we budgeted and what we actually got. So a significant extra amount of revenue this year than we were planning on, about half of which is repeatable and half of which was just random one-time things. So revenue, good. Here's the expense side. A lot of numbers on this page. The main one to look at, is over here. So, if you go across, the salary budget was 26 million. We only spent 25.4, so we were under budget. And similar to revenue, where we try to come in a little better than budget, on the expense side, the same thing. We want to be better than budget by being under 100%, and that was the case in almost every category. The salaries and benefits, which are the two biggest numbers, are the ones that were accounted for most of being under, and a lot of that was being unable to fill positions. So we just, we were short several times throughout the year. That makes the salaries, the one benefit, the only person that's happy about that is the business manager when we're under budget. But in just about every category we were under. The one that was over a little bit is called other objects. That's where we have our bond payments and also our special ed out-of-district tuition. We had a number of high-need students that had to be sent out, and it was over budget by a little bit. But overall, bottom line, we were at 96% and about $1.6 million under our expense budget. So if you combine all of that, revenue was 2.8 over to the good. Expenses were 1.6 under, also to the good. So last year at this time, I stood up here and I was concerned because we had a $4 million deficit budget presentation, and we ended up breaking even and being slightly positive. So that's really good news on that front. So that's a summary of how we did this last year. Now let's look at how we're going to do in the upcoming year. So I'm going to start with an overview, and I'll come back to this at the end, and then we're going to look at some of the individual categories. So we're starting the year with $41 million in the bank, anticipating revenues of $44 million, expenses of $46.8. So that is a deficit, but if you remember, last year's budget deficit was $4 million. Now we're at 2.5, so it's never fun to have a deficit, but it's trending in the right direction, and really not all of that is a real deficit, as I'll get to. So that still leaves us with a healthy fund balance of 38.5 million. Sometimes we use fund balance as a percentage of revenues to gauge how healthy the district is. And if you look at our fund balance compared to the starting fund balance compared to revenue, that's 92.8%. That's extremely healthy. And even if we lose what we intend to and have an ending fund balance of 38 million, that's still 87% of our fund balance. So very healthy overall. So the 2.5 is if you take everything into the mix, but there are a few things that we look at as one-time expenses. We still have $550,000 of construction costs out there. And then also we talked about the abatement. We have to abate 1.7 million for each of the next 2 years. This is the first year of that. So that's a temporary thing. So if you take those things out, then our actual operating deficit is 315,000. We like that number to be positive, but last year that number was over $1 million, so it has come down significantly, which is a good thing. So then looking at some of the items individually, here's the revenue side, and you can see the effect of that property tax relief grant, because normally our local number is 82 or 83%, and state is less than 10. But we're abating property taxes, so the local amount will be less. The state portion is higher. Federal is a little higher than normal due to the ESSER grants that we are still receiving. So total revenue, 44.2 million. And so looking at the local side, we're going to get half of the 2021 taxes, where the CPI was 1.4%. We'll get the first half of 22, where the CPI was 5%, but we only get an estimated amount from the previous year, so we won't see the effect of that 5% until next year. But then also, we're abating $1.7 million. So you throw all of that into the mix, and our property tax revenue is down. Interest revenue is going up because the interest rates are going up on the money that we can invest. That number might be conservative. I'll probably bump it up a little bit next time. And the food service revenue it's not new money, it's just shifting from federal to back to local for students that pay for their lunch. So all of those things combined, local revenue is actually going down, most of it because of the property tax abatement. So last year we were at 36 million, this year we're at 34.7, so it's a decrease of 1.2, but again, 1.7 of it was abatement, and then some of the other things were going up. On the state side, I put this together before the new EBF information came out, but it ended up being accurate. We're staying in Tier 3. It's not going to be flat funding. We are going to get $50,000 in new funding from that. That'll be reflected in the final budget. We do have the $1 million of property tax relief, which is now part of our evidence-based funding. So that will be a permanent increase every year, so it's in the budget for this year. And then transportation reimbursement is going up because our costs are going up, specifically special ed transportation. So putting that all into the mix, on the state side, last year we were at 3.9 million. This year we're at 5 million, so that's over $1 million, but $1 million of it, again, is that property tax relief. And then on the federal side, the food service revenue that was federal last year is going away, but again, that's offset by it moving to the state. And then we have remaining, so last year we had 1.2 million in ESSER grants that we budgeted for and spent. Those were multi-year grants. In the upcoming year, we have 2.5 million remaining to spend, and we have budgeted for it. So that will look like an increase in our federal. It's just a function of the grants, but expenses will go right along with it. So on the federal side, it's up by $1 million, and almost all of that is because of the ESSER increase. So again, here's the revenue summary. Local is down, mostly due to property tax abatement. State is up mostly due to the state property tax relief, and then federal is up because of ESSER grants. So all of that together means our revenue is up $849,000, which is, in the scheme of 44 million, it's not a huge amount, but it's up. So that's the revenue side. So on the expense side, here's how we spend our money. A lot of numbers on the page, I apologize for that, but, and you could see that the majority of our funds, 70% is spent on salaries and benefits with the other things down below, and adding up to 46.8 million. Here's how it has changed from last year. So this is the big one right here. Salaries normally, if you look at our salaries are 25 million. If we gave just a 3% raise with no other changes, it would be $750,000 in new spending. But you could see we went down, and a lot of that is just because we have consolidated and reduced some staff in some areas. So that is a big reason we went from the $1 million operating deficit last year to only $300,000 this year. And then also it flows through, benefits are less too when salaries are less. This other line being down $900,000, this is the year that the bond payments from years ago rolled off. If you recall, in a normal year, then our revenue would also go down by the same amount, but we decided to abate $1 million of property taxes last year. So we had a surplus that year, we abated $1 million. So essentially our revenue dropped last year, but now the expenses are dropping this year as those bond payments have rolled off. So our expense budget overall, though, is down from what it was a year ago. So again, this is where we started, $41 million fund balance, a deficit of 2.5 million when you consider all funds, leaving 38.5 as an ending fund balance. And again, we hope to do better than this, but this is what the plan is for right now. And again, the operating deficit part of it is 300,000 when you take out the one-time thing, or the two-time thing in the case of the abatement. And that's it. So this is just information this month. There's nothing to vote on. Next month, I'll come back with another presentation and show what has changed from what I showed you today. I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has any.
Okay, great, thank you.
Great.
Excellent. 8.1, communications correspondence. We have one.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Thanks a lot to the Board of Education from the staff at Cruise. Just can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for the D146 tote bags. They're awesome, from the Cruise staff.
Okay, can I have a motion to go into closed session, please?
I move that we go into closed session for a personnel matter.
Is there a second?
Second?
Secretary, call the roll.
Loy,
Yes?
Lada,
Yes.
Dunlap, yes, Nanda.
Yes. There will be no action following closed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take the battery out.
Yeah.